Yo, we tuning in to the only programmers that will survive this BS era of AI and programming. Let's hop right into it. Big Box XWE.
Oh boy, where do I even begin? Programming has seen a massive shift in the past few years. We went from a low cortisol environment of getting into Google with a Python snake game to a high cortisol space where you need to build a revolutionary piece of tech to get a job anymore. I mean, the term programming job is a bit of an oxymoron these days. But despite what clickbait YouTubers tell you, it's actually not all doom and gloom. Software engineering jobs have grown 4.6% this year. It's gotten so good that day in the life TikToks are back. So what's exactly going on? What developers do on a day-to-day basis is changing, and the skills companies are looking for have changed a lot as well.
I don't know how to react to this because clickbait content
YouTubers tell you, it's
creators
actually
they don't tell you the reason why we clickbait you guys into these videos in the first place. I'm gonna be honest with you, is because we have an oversaturation of people who really don't give a fuck about coding. They're just in it for the money. It's like real estate. Everybody want to wholesale a house, but don't nobody want to fucking go to school to learn what real estate and how to sell a house. Like, why do you enter the industry with just money in your mind? That's the first thing. So yeah, we're gonna clickbait you because at the end of the day, more of you people who just want to make money in this industry who gives no fucks about what data structure and algorithms are, or to even look online on how to solve a problem using Google search. You guys are just plain and simply using AI. Now, I'm not saying AI is wrong. Um, yes and no. I have mixed feelings about it. Me, from a person who is strictly using AI, vibe coding and stuff, I genuinely don't see the use of AI if you don't know the basic foundation. Like for me, I took a step back from the vibe coding because I want to understand what data structure and algorithms mean, what good code looks like, actually writing good code for myself. It's not that fucking easy, to be honest with you. And like the fact that people are coming here and just AI prompting their way into jobs. Am I hating? Hey, yeah, fucking hating, dude. You guys shouldn't be employed because you guys don't fucking know what the code means. As opposed to someone like me who's just gonna look online and see what the code means, research it, and actually love what I do. Hey, I'd clickbait you guys too, man. There ain't no work for you guys. You gonna get the same clickbait here.
this is changing, and the skills companies are looking for have changed a lot as well. Software engineering has fundamentally shifted towards two very extreme directions, and the first one is hyper-generalism. This isn't another video about full-stack fatigue. That's like 2016 Leafy-era levels of developer commentary. We all know by now at some level you're expected to work across the stack these days. And if you work at Cluely, you also have to be able to fit into a furry suit. Software engineering roles have increased a lot, but also beyond the technical scope. And this is perfectly reflected in the rise of forward deployed engineers. This role has exploded in popularity recently, with one report from Indeed saying listings have gone up by 800% in 1 year alone. So what do these guys actually do? This is a role where developers are actually embedded into a customer's company and develop custom workflows for them.
Wait, what is that job title called? Forward.
Software engineering roles have increased a lot, but also beyond the technical scope. And this is perfectly reflected in the rise of forward deployed engineers. This role has exploded
Forward deployed engineers. So the people that want jobs, please write that down. I'm writing that down my damn
in
self.
popularity recently, with one report from Indeed saying listings have gone up by 800% in 1 year alone. So what do these guys actually do? This is a role where developers are actually embedded into a customer's company and develop custom workflows for them. It gained notoriety at everyone's favorite sweetheart do no evil tech company, Palantir. The forward deployed engineer role means that there's a whole new skill set for developers to consider, talking to people. And I call this the great yappening of programming. A reason for this is because code has become quicker and cheaper to produce. Notice how I didn't say better? Well, high quality code is still a very scarce resource, which I'll touch on later. But companies are very happy to throw money at very bespoke solutions. Think of AWS and all the crazy ways we normies use it. Then think of Snapchat, an $8 billion company that runs entirely on AWS. When a company like Snapchat wants a feature from AWS, they won't say it's in the backlog. They'll hire an entire team of engineers to go sit at Snapchat and work with them. And this is a massive growing demand for AI companies, because AI needs context to do absolutely anything. And if a megacorp, a government, or a CEO with shareholder value to provide wants a bespoke AI solution, you best believe they're going to get an army of low cortisol cursor programmers. Now this means you not only have to be cracked at a wide range of tech stuff, But you also have to be pretty good at soft skills, like talking to customers, gesture maxing, project management, sales, not wearing Crocs to work.
So like customer service for software companies in need of low-level engineers.
Another role you'll see growing in popularity is MOTS, or member of technical staff. You can think of these as
Member of technical staff. Okay, okay, okay. Mops.
mercenary developers. You can kind of drop them into any space and they'll just figure it out. This means you have to be used to working with different teams and learn how to be productive a lot faster than normal. Now, if you don't like the sound of customers, there's still a path to wearing Crocs to work. Extreme specialization. Let's look at Jared Sumner, the guy that made Bun, which later got acquired by Anthropic. He's an example of someone in the modern day that's insanely specialized. You'd think just because he's built for the web dev ecosystem, he must be some JavaScript nerd. In fact, it's quite the opposite. He's an insanely talented systems engineer who happens to be really good at product as well. I mean, Bun is written entirely in my beloved Zig. Jared just took his talents in systems engineering and applied it to a field where there's a lot of demand for good performance. And now at Anthropic, he's going even crazier. And this is an example of someone that got there without AI or if-else engineering. Companies like Scale AI are dropping $1 million per year on individual ML engineers. These are achievements that you can't get as a generalist. But being an extreme specialist isn't easy. A lot of these guys are academics or researchers, or they're just obsessed with their tech stack and put years of effort behind the scenes. This is definitely some high cortisol programming activity. Ultimately, either way you go, being extreme seems to be the trend. You have to be freaking good across a lot of things even beyond programming, or absolutely insanely cracked at one vertical. It feels like to survive in programming, you can't be average anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Even went to this job fair recently and the one thing that helped me stand out was my ability to work on hardware products. And while I didn't actually want to work on hardware, I had to sell myself in that field. So I know how to solder, I know how to punch down cables, I know how to connect them, look into systems, code, program them. So that made me more marketable because I could just go into any, I guess, company that's doing manufacturing and doesn't really understand programming. And I could probably pick up where they left off, learn it on the go because I'm used to that environment anyways. Um, so that's what I'd say as well. Like, don't shy away from some of those I guess those technical positions as a programmer. Try to be more on the hardware side of things as well, especially as we like ramp up with AI, because they do need some place to live on. And market yourself as someone who's willing to learn. If you're willing to learn and there's programming involved, not too, even if it's not too much programming, you stand a better chance than someone who has all the expertise of the hardware side, but still has to learn the coding side. The hardware side, not that it's not that hard, but that's teachable. It just takes someone who wants to learn. The programming side, either you know it or you don't. That's how I feel about this industry. You can use AI, but the more and more I get into it, either you understand it, you want to understand it, or you just have a knack for it, like you know how to solve problems, or you don't. So yeah,
You can't just go to a boot camp and grind LC to get a job. Those days are long gone. For me personally, I'm opting for generalization. I love the idea of the polymath. A person that can be good at multiple things. Well, in my own case, I might just be mediocre at multiple things. That's the bet I'm taking, bro. What about you? Now, either bet you take, you should be using warp.dev, the sponsor of today's video, and especially
yeah, that's why I paused it right there because I'm pretty sure it was a sponsor coming up. I'm used to these videos by now, but it was great content by Big SWE. Um, I don't think that being a generalist in multiple fields helps you. I feel like you have to be some sort of advanced in a lot of different fields, or at least one, or be an expert in one specific thing and then niche down there. Don't be a generalist because there's so much competition. You leave yourself wide open to being average anyways if you don't know anything in depth. Try to find something that you're really good at. Again, I'm all for lying on a resume if it helps you look better. And at the end of the day, getting a job is the goal, right? So get your foot in the door. The first job or second job, all jobs are harder to get, but once you get your foot in the door, it'd be easier to navigate into other positions and leverage in the position you have now. Um, I'll keep you posted on where my progress is on this job search. Though I've had like a good progress when it comes to networking and positioning myself, I find myself now canceling more on things because I can't keep doing this shit for free. I want to be paid for the knowledge that I have, and even some of the open source stuff I want to do. I don't want to open source it anymore. I kind of want to go in the direction of the Creative Bun, open claw. If there is money to be made from it, why not? You know what I mean? So I'm gearing up to like really hone my skills and I guess revamp my idea of open source because it's not supposed to be free for you guys anymore. Those days are long gone where you can make free code and reap the benefits of being an awesome developer. I want to reap the benefits of what I made right now. It's possible. Open source is actually a great way to showcase your skills. And if you attract the right eyes, you can get a job easier that way. Um, when you sell your software developer kits, your SDKs, even heck, even your ideas open source. If it's valuable, there's a higher chance of you getting a position or at least making great connections than just applying all day long if you're not sure where you want to apply to anyways. You just got to tailor your resumes to what the job application is. Now, I'm not saying it's not effective, but if you're looking for efficiency, that's where I'll go. Again, to each his own. If you guys do have any advice below too, drop it in the comments. I'll see you guys later.